The bottom line on nuclear weapons is that when the president gives the order, it must be followed. There's about 4 minutes between the order being given and the people responsible for launching nuclear weapons to do so. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
They're voting for peace on planet Earth if they vote for Trump. But if they vote for Hillary, it's war.
We came, we saw, he died.
With her, you'll end up in World War III.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran.
Right now, Senator, for us to control all of the airspace in Syria would require us to go to war against Syria and Russia.
The U.S. military has just raised the threat level to DEFCON 2. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is still threatening Russia with military action following unconfirmed reports of further hacking. It's like she's not even concerned about the repercussions.
Of course not, because she's...
There's a really loud noise.
All right, looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll try to get Leanne back on in a few minutes.
When the president gives the order, it must be followed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It is Friday night. We are live. This is a special emergency transmission. As I saw this information come in this afternoon and did about 2 hours of research on it, I realized that I had to come in tonight at 6 o'clock, just about 37 minutes ago, and have the crew stay here late to put out an emergency transmission over Infowars.com. Now, the little intro piece you saw was from over a year ago, back during the election, looking at what many analysts believed would be a possible future if Hillary was elected, promising nuclear war with Iran, Russia, and others. But a bigger nuclear threat that we know is a clear and present danger is the 460-plus energy-producing reactors and hundreds of other research reactors, as well as nuclear submarines and other secretive projects, close to 1,000 it's estimated. Nuclear reactors that are on average 36 years old were supposed to be retired between 25 and 30 years. We have 3 times the amount of radiation in the Northern Hemisphere we had before the first atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Those bombs didn't even raise it 1%. It was the hundreds and hundreds of above-air tests done by the U.S., the former Soviet Union, and communist China, as well as France and others, that raised the level to the numbers just in 2013 were 3 times what they'd been before the 1945 detonations in Hiroshima and, of course, Nagasaki, Japan. The reason I'm here tonight is for 2 years, we've had mystery levels of radiation in Germany, in Poland, in France, in the Netherlands, blowing across into the UK, hundreds of times the safe level of radiation, all different types of isotopes. But now, in the last 11 days, mainstream U.S. news has accused the Russians of covering up some type of massive leak in the last month, and the Russians had denied this. Now, we're not on the Russian payroll like the media says, just as we don't want war with Russia. Russia has the history of Chernobyl in Ukraine into Poland, biggest nuclear disaster in history. Parts of Europe still uninhabitable because of it. They've got a lot of aging reactors supplying power. And then today, the Russian Meteorological Service and other major Russian state-run organizations came out and confirmed radiation levels 986 times what is deemed safe even by the Russians, emanating out of areas in central Russia towards the west. So, When I see mainstream U.S. news saying, oh, the Russians have got leaking reactors, I think, well, they have before. It might be true, but you've had France with a lot of disasters. They've got more reactors than Russia. They've got more than us. They're just totally nuclear powered, super dangerous. They cover up a lot of leaks. We've had big leaks that are covered up. We've had Hiroshima, the events that took place with the whole situation in Japan. Fukushima, we've had all that covered up, massive radiation coming across the jet stream from Japan towards the United States. That's the way the jet stream goes, is from the east towards the west. And so we've got all this going on. And so I've studied this, but a few months ago, when they were first starting to say it might be the Russians, I thought, well, let's wait and see, because I knew Japan had big leaks. Other European countries had big leaks. We knew that France had big leaks. But the type of isotopes now coming in are not from nuclear reactors. They're from either secret illegal nuclear testing or in nuclear weapons building a weapon detonated. And that's what's in the London Telegraph. That's even what's in NPR. That's what's in the Washington Post. That's what's in the London Independent. And again, I don't normally just go along with these publications. I do deep research. The fact is the Russians are now confirming the isotope that's been found is particularly nasty and even worse than the type of reactions we saw at Fukushima, even though Fukushima on the scale is much, much, much larger. So we're looking at fission, radioactive fission. I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I've studied it and I've had many of them on taking place. This is not a chain reaction where it's a atomic bomb or hydrogen bomb going off, but we do have a type of fission going on for this isotope, which is extremely high concentrations of radioactive isotopes. The French, the Russians, the EU are all admitting, and the levels of it are just going up and up and up. And there is a radioactive cloud coming in out of the east in Russia, blowing into Europe of Ru-106, Ruthenium-106. And the Russians are confirming that this has been happening going back several months ago. We also have a map that we can pull up for TV viewers here so you can see what's been put out reportedly of the cloud coming in from central Russia, east of Moscow, and going into Europe. The French Atomic Agency has said that if these levels were in France, they would call for a country-wide invasion. And to realize how big Russia is, these areas in red that you see over here are as big as France. Over here, you see France, right over here. That's how big France is. You're looking on a map. And then look how big this is. This is bigger than France. And the red areas are as big as France. And this is blowing into Italy. This is blowing into Ukraine. This is blowing all over the place and being picked up in Germany and in Sweden and in Norway and in the UK and in France at hundreds of times safe levels. And in Russia, 980 plus times safe levels. So here's the issue. I was brought up to believe in nuclear power. I was brought up to be a tech guy who believed in science, and I still do. But when we've got millions of years of coal that we can run for thousands of years off of, and we've got scrubbers that make it totally clean, all that comes out is carbon dioxide, and it can power the whole planet and end all our energy problems while we develop new technologies that have been suppressed, why are we building more nuclear reactors? Why is the left pushing for neighborhood reactors? This is not a good technology. It's out of control. It's dangerous. And think about this. This is 1900 technology that Max Planck figured out, developed in the 1940s in the Manhattan Project. Imagine what they've got now with genetic engineering and fission, fusion, and all these other, they're creating artificial black holes in Japan 30 years ago, and they got Strangelets and the Hadron Superconducting Supercollider, Cyclotron, to use the old name. This is crazy. I don't care if it's coming from the Russians or from secret nuke meltdowns we've had in the U.S. that have been confirmed that are as big as this back in the 60s. Hell, just 5-6 years ago, they would have meltdowns in California. And they'd have meltdown level radiation coming out, and they'd go, oh, we're turning the alarms off. It's scaring people in Southern California. So this is going on. Everybody's guilty. And the politicians are all busy with their mistresses and living in big fancy villas that aren't going to be worth anything if you don't get control of these aging reactors. Just like Chernobyl. Pull up Chernobyl. What year was that? Chernobyl takes place, and they admit over 1 million people have died from tumors from it. Large areas of Europe are uninhabitable. And back when my ex-wife's parents were in the diplomatic corps, they were in Italy at the time. They, for a year, ate frozen food from the U.S. and the whole Italian population did, because they knew that this radiation was coming down, and you didn't eat stuff that was grown that year, and you didn't drink milk out of Europe. They slaughtered a lot of the milk cows because they couldn't just let them sit there. And 1986, April 26. So here's the thing. Chernobyl was an old plant. It was more than 25 years old. It wasn't being upkept. And it blew up. And 31 people died the day it blew up. And then hundreds of Russians that went in to try to cover up the radiation, they died. And then over 1 million people, pull up. UN fact finding, over 1 million people as of 2006 had died of tumors directly attributable to Chernobyl. Look it up. I remember the numbers. So the reason I'm here is we can't have this attitude about cancer up 10,000+% in children and diabetes up 3,000 type 2 and all the rest of it, and just ignore all this stuff like it's not hitting us. We're so domesticated like dodo birds that we don't realize what's happening to us. We have to be concerned about this. We have to care about our children, and we have to talk about it. Because here's the thing. I read the news every day, and I see the reports. There's a London Guardian article that says from 4,000 to 500,000. Now, the UN number, type in Chernobyl, UN estimates over 1 million have died. Not what happened that month, but in the whole chain of it. I've seen it many times. We don't pre-plan these broadcasts. I just sit here and go off my own research, and then they do search engine and pull it up. The point is Chernobyl's been a huge disaster, and Fukushima's been a big disaster, and it's still melting down ongoing today, and it just gets worse and worse, crazier and crazier. And now Russia is admitting it's coming out of Russia. But like I said, Japan's got big problems. There's an article out of Global Research, 985,000 from cancer from Chernobyl. Yeah, that's, again, an old number. That's 2010. Well, we'll keep looking. The point is, it's killed a lot of people, and the estimates vary. And there's this attitude now that, oh, radiation isn't bad for you. It's no big deal. Everything's fun. Everything's happy. And the radiation level on average in the Northern Hemisphere is 3 times what it used to be. And it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And they're building more reactors, and they're not shutting down the old ones. And then they cover up the old research reactors they've got, like where I live in Austin, Texas, right under the LBJ Presidential Museum and Library, was the first presidential museum. They've got a nuclear reactor. And it's admitted, if you research deeply, it's there, but the average person, you tell them they don't care. They got a huge reactor, one of the biggest research reactors in the world in North Austin at the J.J. Pickle Center. And it's just this attitude with genetic engineering and nanotech and artificial intelligence and all of it. We're going to do it no matter what, and forget the checks and balances. But then they're going to tell me the male is toxic and the family's toxic and, Christianity's toxic, but Islam's good. The globalists are in a global arms race. They're in a global technocracy race. They're in a life extension race, and they don't care what happens to 99% of us. And their argument is, hey, 99% aren't conscious and don't care to begin with, Alex. So they don't care what you have to say. Okay, well, you claim you're so enlightened. If the general public doesn't care, why does the establishment not care? Because this is dangerous, and this is serious, and this is real. So, starting about 2 years ago, we began to see nuclear alarms, radioactive alarms, radiation alarms, background radiation alarms go off all over the world. This is after Fukushima, but intensifying in Europe. France, the Netherlands. And you could tell where it's happening in France, close to reactor, because this university 20 miles away would pick up really high, and then another would pick up, weaker, and then others even weaker. So you can tell the general ways these are blowing. And then government comes in later and tries to shut all that down. But France has been off-putting radiation. They've been having big leaks. They've been having accidents. They've been having meltdowns. Other countries have been having it. We've been having it. The Japanese have been having it. We've had all sorts of nuclear submarine accidents. And it's going on and on and on and on. And now Russia has a big one on the scale. It's right up there almost with Fukushima and Chernobyl. And it's blowing in. And it's hardly even a news story. So that's why I'm here covering this and going over this. Now, you have to understand, Europe has a bunch of sensors. Eastern Russia doesn't so much. Japan's pretty close-lipped. The winds, the trade winds at the ground level up to the jet stream is blowing across Asia, across the Pacific, across North America, across Europe. That's the direction it goes. You can pull it up for yourself. So the fact that they're picking up massive radiation in Europe against the wind, can you imagine what's going on in Kazakhstan and other areas, and then down towards the other stands, Afghanistan, Pakistan? I mean, this is crazy. And then it just goes around the world, over us, and guess where the jet stream that goes over Europe and central China drops out? Right over New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana. And I'll be honest with the crew and everybody else. And I've interviewed top meteorologists, scientists, planetologists is the term I'd use, a Frank Herbert term. We're getting all the Chinese dirt, all the Chinese smokestacks that are dirty, all the apple factories right where we're at. It's not allergies in central Texas. Everybody thinks they're so sick from. The jet stream, on average, dumps, as you can see. See it right there? See, that's even a map they pulled up. Where's that dumping in? You notice that's a computer model, but generally it's dumping right over Texas. You see that? So the point is, because it goes all over the U.S., but where it comes in to ground zero is right over Texas. And so that's one reason we need to fund ourselves and whatever we have to do to, like, get out of here, because it's just hellish. Everything out of China, everything out of Russia, it's just dumping right on top of us. There's only a couple spots in the Northern Hemisphere where it dumps in, and that's right on top of us. Another place is the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Another place, strangely enough, is like right over Iraq. And you got the crazy Saudi Arabians, they got Born where all the oil's at. So see how that comes in and it goes down. And then, it also sometimes gyrates and hits Maine. So I don't have all the answers. I'm just here to let you know this is going on, and to let you know that 50 years ago or 40 years ago with the Silkwood, if there's a little bit of a reactor leak, they'd go kill a bunch of people to shut it up. Now there's huge leaks, and it's like, so what? Radiation's good for us. You got Mombi out on the left, and Ann Coulter, who's not a bad person overall, but on the right, saying that the Japanese ought to be thankful for Fukushima. Radiation is good for you. You can't just play voodoo and say you're ignoring it just because you can't see radiation and then basically say it's not a problem. We'll be tracking all this tomorrow and throughout the week at Infowars.com and Newswars.com. I appreciate the crew staying late to go over all this info. Pray for the folks in Russia. Pray for everybody in Europe and here as well and all over the world. But the Southern Hemisphere is looking better and better. None of this is going on down there. And a lot of the globalists have moved to the Southern Hemisphere and put their money there as if they know something big's happening. I don't have all the answers, but all of us together, with God's help, we do have the answers. And this is what I want to say in closing. John Conyers flying in hookers, they're now saying, on government jets, and you've got at least U.S. tax money is actually going back to the economy. I'm not defending it, but and you've got Charlie Rose having to step down. He was a failure. They're getting rid of all the Clinton order people with this. Okay, so he hit on 8 women, over all these years. And I'm sure, I don't like Charlie Rose or the Bilderberg Group or anybody, but now they're equating men hitting on women with as bad as raping women like Weinstein reportedly did, or Kevin Spacey raping men and young boys. And it's not. Charlie Rose hitting on women under him and them covering up. Now they just want to get rid of them because the globalist program failed. Their little movie star failed. Just like Megyn Kelly's failing. People are sick of it, so they want to get rid of all these contracts with all these old sexual harassment cases they've been covering up in the case of Charlie Rose for more than 10 years at PBS and now at CBS. They're just you're using this to get rid of them, which is fine with me. I don't care. But what we're dealing with here, ladies and gentlemen, is humanity fighting with itself over our normal sexual procreation operations while we're being rained down with radiation and while the globalists are playing us all off against each other. So all I'm saying is we should spend as much time on nuclear radiation and nuclear fallout and fission and atomic fission and all the things that are happening and nanotech and human-animal hybrids and their rights and all this as we do obsessing over gender-neutral bathrooms and all the rest of it, which is a political diversion that the establishment puts out to distract everybody. I don't like John Conyers. I don't like any of these people. I know why Trump's come out and said, look, there's no proof of Roy Moore doing all this, which the stuff they're saying is criminal. There's no proof. Because he understands they're creating a total hysteria around it to try to just bring down the entire culture and say sex between men and women is illegal. I understand that's why he's done that, and we've pointed that out, that that's where this is going. But the globalists knew this was all coming out. They knew Weinstein couldn't cover it up anymore. They knew because of the internet and people having courage and standing up and whistleblowing that their system was coming down. So they've decided in the media to take control of it and use it to their own advantage. So we need to all be very watchful and very aware of what's happening here. We're going to be tracking it all. But this is an amazing time to be alive. And, you know, you get higher cancer rates just being higher radiation. But if you get a hot particle from these that just gives the background radiation, they're like glowing embers. If you looked at that on a meter, a little tiny piece of radioactive isotope that's floating around in the jet stream, it makes the whole background on a Geiger counter pick up as these particles are out there. But if you breathe one, well, then it's thousands of times what the background radiation is, and that's what ends up killing you. So this is a serious situation, and just pray that we will get control of this because we've got such incredible technology, such incredible future. We're unlocking the secrets of the universe, but let's not have that Atlantis moment where we blow ourselves up. Whether Atlantis was real or not, as I've always said, we're now the new Atlantis, just as Sir Francis Bacon envisioned with technology and Renaissance. But the byproduct of great technology is it's empowered us. We have technology and knowledge all around us, but the people are so lazy because they're taken care of, they don't care. And so they're becoming enslaved and can't operate this godlike technology because we are just fallen man. And we are fallen, evidenced, whether God's real or not, whether you believe in God or not. We've got all this godlike technology, and we're not acting like a god. Are we? Again, and I'm not picking on the Russians. It's the U.S., it's the French, it's the Russians, it's the Japanese. It's all these people that thought, hey, we can do this. It's going to be great. We know how to handle it. We'll control it. And it's a bunch of mad scientists like genetic engineering and vaccines that want to be in charge. You got to watch the mad scientists, folks, because this is where the real genius happens, but it's also where the insanity happens. And, you know, 1/3 of the geniuses went with Satan. They didn't go with God. So we're reliving this. We're repeating this as it's been done over and over again, as you know. And all civilizations don't make it. I want this one to make it. I want to be a winner for humanity. I want us to all go into the future. The globalists want to wall us off, poison us, dumb us down, kill us, and then they believe they're going to go forward. That never happens. We all go forward together or we die together. If the globalists go with their plan to shut everything down, poison and dumb down the population, they will never cross the River Jordan. They will never enter the Promised Land. As above, so below. As happened previously in history, so will be repeated again. We all know about mad scientists of old. We all know that they do experiments. This planet's an experiment. Those below it try to play God and try to do their own experiments. Because free will is an experiment. I pray we all wake up, get connected to God, and get humble and realize that we are in the middle of the universe together on a planet in deep space with fabulous technology, and stop being depressed and stop hating each other for what color we are, and hope to God we get together and make it out of this and to something greater. I'm a fan of humanity. I know you are as well, and God is as well. That's it for this transmission. Radiation levels are increasing. Genetic engineering's out of control. We're in a serious crisis, and only focus and being seriously involved and having leaders that care is going to help us. There's a death cult in the elite, a wanting to destroy the planet. They claim they want innovation, but they really want death, and there are a bunch of delusional people that have to be dealt with. So again, radiation levels are going up. Pray for peace. Get this story out so they can't cover it up, so we can shut down the next big meltdown. I'm Alex Jones. And if you're watching this transmission, you are the hope. You are the resistance.
Curious about why you would even dare be here.
Well, because I want to hear from people like you to figure out what you're thinking. I mean, come on, this is...
I'm ashamed of my president, Trump.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here we go. Give them their platform. I got a chant going. What about gay frogs?
Heart of 1776. You're a white male.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Move, bitch! Get out the way!
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
InfoWars helped fuel the rumor that President Obama is an ISIS supporter.
It's been a cozy relationship from the beginning. I will not let you down. You will be very, very impressed, I hope. And I think we'll be speaking a lot. Donald Trump and Alex Jones.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
Waging war on corruption. It's
Alex Jones.
You deserve a deep, restful sleep with Knockout by InfoWars Life. Our organic formula is made from high-quality natural ingredients such as valerian root extract, L-tryptophan, lemon balm leaf extract, and melatonin. Knockout packs a powerful punch to get you through the night and achieve proper sleep. Millions of people around the world experience daytime drowsiness, but with the rapid speed of life, we need to be able to keep up the pace. Our natural mixture harnesses the power of 10 known ingredients to let your body relax and get the sleep you need. Wake up refreshed and take on the day. InfoWars Life wants to bring you a sleep support formula that goes above and beyond other leading brands at an affordable price. Get the sleep you deserve and experience the power of Knockout. Head on over to InfoWarsLife.com and say goodbye to fatigue. That's InfoWarsLife.com.